Welcome to Seismic Sonics. Initially released in 1999, the arcade soundtrack goes for heavy breaks and simpler sample-based compositions, due to being programmed for the Namco System 12, specifically for its soundboard. Considering that these songs are loop-based and had to be heard in an arcade setting, these arrangements are an understandable gesture. Starting the OST, its attract theme sets the tone for the soundtrack's Sonics. It's a soundtrack that merges club sounds of the time with tracks that range from including hard-hitting breaks to atmospheric soundscapes. As said previously, the soundtrack includes vocoded vocals. Genres include electronic, breakbeat, trance, techno, ambient, and house. While most songs on the OST are the basis for most of the game's console version rearrangements that notably use less elements and slightly different instruments, like the track Eddie that has a more pronounced samba rhythm, tracks such as Jin, Xiaoyu, School, Yoshimitsu, Parang, Ogre, Middle Boss, and Last Boss take on different arrangements compared to the console versions. Let's go through some of them. Jin fuses hard breakcore rhythms, a zen-like synth lead pad, and digital bleeps. Its heavy bass line is the icing on the cake. Drums and vocoded vocals are chopped, repeated, and manipulated throughout the mix, and eventually becomes spasmodic as it descends into loops of stuttered breakbeats. It sounds rebellious, uncontrolled, and beautiful at the same time. For those reasons, it's one of my favourite songs on the soundtrack. In a more chill arrangement, drums and bass take a backseat in this song. School includes synth strings and a bell phrase that has a timbre of a gamelan are the prominent sounds on this song. Compared to the console version, it sounds more like a lounge track than an intense techno club banger. Retaining its breakbeat sound, Ogre becomes an atmospheric arrangement driven by drum breaks, a catchy bass line, bleeps, and organ keys. While less dramatic than the console version, Ogre feels calming and serene. This theme retains its synth lead, but sounds just as eerie and alien than the console version, known as Unknown. Instead of the Led Zeppelin sampled when the levy breaks drum loop informing the synth's placement in the track, heavy chopped up breaks and a stabby bass line place it in a different, quirkier groove and pocket. It's an intriguing listen. comparing and contrasting both sounds, the console version of the game and the arcade, I can understand why they may have had to rearrange some songs. For example, the PS2 had better audio capabilities, there was more to play around with sonically, and you could be more dense with sounds. And the attraction to the games at the arcade was the music. So if you had punchier songs to listen to while facing your opponents in each stage, that could be a factor. Considering songs like might be annoying if you were to hear that on the console version, which is why I think we got a more electro flavoured vibe of Jin. Both OSTs have different approaches, so if you want more fast-paced songs, very breakbeat heavy, the arcade version. If you want more dense arrangements, intricate and feels more orchestral in a way, the console version gives you that. The music of Tekken Tag Tournament's arcade version is composed by Akitaka Toyama, Yumiyake, Nobuyoshi Sano, Keiichi Okabe, and Ryo Hamamoto, who only composed the Join and Ranyu jingles. Most songs are composed by Toyama, followed by Miyake, Sano, and Okabe. Notably, these were newer composers that joined the Tekken sound team by this time, with Sano and Okabe retaining their posts until the console version of Tekken Tag Tournament, initially released in March 2000. Each composer has their own sound on this soundtrack, but with different approaches for this version. Sano uses bass-driven arrangements. There's softer synth work here, but clunky bass lines and minimal yet addictive melodies are intact. Drum breaks, however, take center stage. Toyama's works are synth and drum driven, focusing on atmosphere, ambience, and harmonious melodies. Miyake's works add a grittier edge to the soundtrack, though there's instances of whimsy and eeriness, like with Okabe's works featuring interesting synth pads that include sonically lush sounds. Overall, despite the approaches being different, it maintains a heavily breakbeat aspect to everything, which was popular at this time. This soundtrack is more subdued in its arrangements and sounds and styles. There are variations in how many of the composers approach synths, bass lines, rhythms, but both versions either way have two different approaches, so I can't really compare and contrast too much. If you're into breakcore, breakbeat, I would give this a listen. But if you want more dense arrangements, percussion, sounds, I would go for the console version. What are your favourite songs from this soundtrack? Share them below. This was Seismic Sonics, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.